Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we want to take a look at some top teams for the Master League, and this time around I actually didn't even do the work myself. I just took what Draco got me. So like, if you want a link also, it's always in the description of the video to them. But also feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the video if you have not done this yet. Would really appreciate it. This time around we're not going to take a look at the meta itself, because the meta did not change at all from the last video I did for the Master League. If you haven't seen this one, you can check that out as well for some more ideas. But let's move on to some teams here that Draco was able to come up with. So we're going to take a look here at team number 1. We're going to have the Ho, we're going to have the Dialga and the Palkia origin, which is a very standard lineup anyway. Like, basically, since the dawn of time, we have Ho-Oh Double Dragon available for the Go Battle League, and it still does make a lot of sense in the current meta, especially with both origin forms being very overpowered. Again, like, actually, last time around, last meta, I was more convinced that the normal Dialga is still like even to the Dialga origin. The normal Dialga is still fine, but Dialga origin is for sure a little bit better in the current meta, because the matchup against Landorus is a little bit easier for you. General, still, Landorus, that's what I kind of want to talk about, is a little bit tricky for this team, because it can beat both the lead as well as your saves up. So Landorus lead can be a little bit tricky. You can still deal with it, because Landorus is kind of squishy, and you still do a lot of damage with both Dragon Breath as well as Incinerate on this Pokemon, so it still should be going to be fine. But otherwise, you can also use as a saves up here the Zacian, for example, which does make quite a lot of sense as well for this team. So let's move on to team number 2. We're going to have here a team that actually scores quadruple A for the Master League, as far as I know. I'm not the biggest fan of this one. I might still make a video about the ranking of PvPoke for this. But here we're going to see a team of Xerneas, Landorus, and the Palkia origin. Kinda what we see here, and which is kind of interesting as well, is that Xerneas is basically perfect in the current meta. Like, you have only a few Pokemon that really beat it, and as a lead, this Pokemon is just insane. So what you can do and what you can try to do with this team is you can try to, like, just try to stay in with the Xerneas, try to win the lead, and then align yourself, because Palkia is great against basically everything in the meta as well. If you take a look at the top meta, like, it beats basically everything that is not a fairy type. But Landorus is going to be a great core together with it, because it beats all like those steel type Pokemon, for example. So both of which are going to be great together. And so you kind of just want to align yourself with the Xerneas in the lead, try to win the lead, and then align your Landorus and your Palkia accordingly for this team. Team number 3, we're going to have a Primarina team. Primarina is a Pokemon that I don't know if I would recommend you to build it right now. It depends on how your elite charge TM situation is going to look right now, because this Pokemon very likely going to get a community day very, very soon. And of course, as soon as it's going to get the community day, it's going to be even more overpowered, having the Hydro Cannon over the Hydro Pump. So if you have one built already, this Pokemon is insane. Like, it's really good in the current meta. Especially, this is like the average of 0 and 1 shield. Charm Pokemon are the best in the 2 shield scenario, so it doesn't even take a look at the scenario where this Pokemon functions the best. And so Primarina is literally one of the strongest Pokemon they can currently run in the open Master League, which is kind of funny. It's mainly because of the typing. Being able to resist Dragon Breath is important right now, while also having the water typing, which gives you a lot of defensive abilities as well. For example, to get neutral damage from the Iron Head from the is just very important. Moving on, team number 4. We're going to have here the Landorus theory, and in the lead we're going to have the Dialga, and then we're going to have a Tapu Bulu in the back. This team is something that I tried out a little bit earlier on as well, which definitely worked out pretty well. I could have maybe played some battles a little bit better as well, but I feel like this team is very strong if you want to build something around the new Tapu Bulu, which got Nature's Madness, which is actually, as you can see, an insane Pokemon for this meta. Being able to beat Palkia and Zygarde, like, it's not even just beating them, it is destroying them. Being able to double resist the fast move of both of which, you're going to be able to resist every charge move of both of them as well, while doing super effective damage against them. Like, I will expect that Tapu Bulu is going to be not everywhere, but definitely top meta now, which is going to shift some things around as well, because it's going to make something like a Ho-Oh way better, because Ho-Oh demolishes Tapu Bulu, or like also sadly the Solgaleo demolishes it, which is even worse for us. But in general, this team together should work out pretty well. You have other alternatives here as well. I would say that Mewtwo Sace-Up is also really good in the current meta. I would really recommend you to try this one out. I might actually make a video about Mewtwo as well again. Have to see, but we can move on to team number 5. Here, this team is going to be also an interesting one. I would go for a Zygarde Sace-Up. Basically, Draco is said for this one that Heatran should be the safe swap, or like the Solgaleo should be the safe swap. I would rather go for the Zygarde, to be fair. But basically, you kind of want to stay in the lead most of the time anyway with Dialga. You can take a look at the graph here as well, and basically, where do you really want to swap out with the Dialga? Maybe against Landorus, but not even, because your backline will be a little bit weak. Against Groudon, Groudon is barely really available currently. Like, basically nobody is really running Groudon, I feel like. Solgaleo can be a little bit tricky, but you're going to maybe swap into your own Solgaleo instead, or like into the Zygarde. Into the Zygarde is actually more smart here anyway. So you can play that one out as well. We're going to have the Ho-Oh, which you can stay in and you can still kind of align yourself. That's still a decent matchup for you. You have Xerneas, where you still have Iron Head for it. But so basically, you kind of want to nearly always stay in the lead here with your Dialga, and you're going to be fine. So it is what it is. Like, this team definitely will be very strong just because you have the most broken Pokemon. Solgaleo, by the way, looks pretty bad on paper, but if you played in the 2-shit scenarios, the thing is just absolutely massive. Like, again, this is the average of the 0 and 1-shit scenario. Pokemon that have debuffing moves like Psychic Fangs on Solgaleo is just going to be way better than the 2-shit scenario. So, especially with a Zygarde on it, which can tank any kind of charge move, you can just keep your shields for Solgaleo and win endgame. If you have those Pokemon, of course, Heatran is an alternative, but let's move on to team number 6. We're going to have quite a similar team to what we had prior, but just a little bit reversed, where we're going to have the Primarina in the back and the Kyogre in the lead. Looks great on paper, to be fair. Like, you're going to have Kyogre in the lead, which is going to be great against Landorus. Fun fact, Primarina is actually pretty bad against Landorus, because you are going to have the water typing, but you don't do water type damage, really. Also with Hydro Cannon will not really change, because you don't really generate the energy for it. But I think you still win the 2-shit scenario with a Primarina, but the 0 and 1 shields you kind of would win with a Landorus, because you just generate energy a little bit faster. But otherwise, this team is basically perfect as well. Funny that the Giratina Origin is shown as a loss for Primarina, of course, in the 2-shit, or like, I think even in the 1-shit it would not be the case. It's just the average of 0 and 1, I guess 0 it might win a little bit easier. But basically, Kyogre, if you have a neutral lead, positive lead, fine. Otherwise, swap into the Dialga, and then you have the Primarina still in the back to win in the back. I would really like to see somewhat of an electric type Pokemon that actually does electric type damage being a little bit better in the Master League for the future, but I can't really see which Pokemon really gonna do that. Maybe a Volt Switch variant of the Zekrom could have some potential, but I'm not too sure about it. But let's move on anyway to the next team. Team number 7. We're going to have a team here again with basically the core of either Palkia. This is actually the wrong Palkia. This is not Palkia. There's a mistake by me. It is what it is. You can basically imagine Palkia Origin. This is the normal Palkia that is on the side and on the screen here right now. Mistake by me. But you saw the Palkia Origin numerous times prior anyway. But yeah, basically you're going to have the core again of Palkia / the Zygarde and the Solgaleo, and have just Landorus as your safe swap for this one. Basically, you have a lead that's great against Ho-Oh. You have a lead that's great against also other Landorus. Like, basically the answers of Solgaleo, you have the Landorus as a safe swap, which can bait out also something like a Kyogre with Solgaleo doesn't want to face, like the water type Pokemon. And you're still going to be able to do some nice damage against them with Sancia Storm. And yeah, it's just like basically putting the most broken Pokemon together and try to build a team with it. This is team 7, but we can move on to team number 8. This is something where I'm a little bit curious. I don't know how good Hisuian Everlux still is in the current meta. I have to say, I am doubtful, because I mean, you have Landorus, so you have Landorus still. I guess it still kind of works, but of course, Palkia is now way more common. Palkia is a bad matchup. Solgaleo is still common. Solgaleo is a little bit of a bad matchup. The Fairy types are more common. The Fairy types are a little bit more of a bad matchup, because they're all running close combat. So it's still going to be solid against a lot of other Pokemon. Maybe I'm going to take a look at this Pokemon as well again. But yeah, interesting. Definitely interesting Pokemon to take a look at. Here we're going to have a team with Lugia and Solgaleo. I like Lugia. I like Mewtwo a little bit more than Solgaleo here, because I feel like Mewtwo Core plus the Everlux is kind of nice. You might want to have some Pokemon in the back, though. Maybe use like Mewtwo as a safe swap and have like something in the back that's even a little bit better against Dialga. Dialga can be a little bit tricky for the Everlux as well, even though the 2-shit scenario against Dialga is quite decent for your Everlux. So, still interesting Pokemon. I'm not too sure about if this Pokemon is going to be still great. We might want to make a video about it, but let's move on to team number 9. Team number 9 is a team that we already suggested like 20 million times before, so I'm just gonna make it short. Giratina Double Fairy is kind of wild and very strong. You can also use Palkia in the lead, you can also use Kyogre in the lead, and you're still going to be fine. You can use in the back Togekiss, you can use in the back Primarina as well as like a Fairy type Pokemon, but basically Double Fairy is still very, very solid. Have an answer in the lead for like normal Steel types, I guess. I kind of want to take a look at Melmetal. Not gonna lie, I feel like Melmetal might be an interesting Pokemon to take a look at. I don't think it's a great Pokemon to take a look at, but it might be interesting. But I feel like still this team should still work out very well. It's kind of like the whole double Dragon line. It's basically good every single season so far. So let's move on to team number 10. This is basically also the most broken core of Dialga and Landorus. Like, this core is amazing. And having the Kyogre in the back, basically, Dialga Landorus core is nearly perfect and is really, really strong together. And then you have the Kyogre and Dialga core, which is really strong together. Not too sure about Kyogre plus Landorus, but it still should be kind of fine. But basically, what you're going to be able to do here with this team as well is, with Landorus as your safe stop, you're gonna get out the Palkia. Palkia, worst matchup for the Kyogre. Kyogre can sweep endgame. That's basically what you want to do with this team. It is kind of still a very solid one. It's kind of like a little bit of a lame one, but you see also on paper here right now. Look at this. Like, Dialga loses against Groudon. Therian form going to win against it. Kyogre win against it. Solgaleo is the worst matchup for the Dialga. You have 2 answers in the back. So basically, you're covering up everything that the Dialga doesn't really want to face, while still maintaining also some kind of synergy between the Pokemon in the back here, trying to bait out something like a Palkia for your Landorus for your Kyogre to basically then later on sweep. So this team does make a lot of sense. That's going to be it for this video. Hopefully those helped you out as well. If it did, feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.